Hey y'all, you know how we get, man. When we be doing these reactions and we're not doing the music reactions, we gotta hop on that educational ish, man. We gotta learn something. We gotta get educated. We gotta grow the noggin. You feel me? So I found a video that seems pretty interesting in terms of just what I just dropped. I found a video that seemed pretty interesting in terms of like, you know, just it's it's just a video of someone's opinion on a certain subject, and we're gonna check it out together and see what he talking about. So, the baby boomers, the generation that sold out Gen Z. See, a lot of people be saying that Gen Z and baby boomers have some sort of beef, you know, that we can't get along, that we don't really mess with each other. So let's see why we don't get along, or what the case is, or what be going on between these two generations, man.
The baby boomers inherited prosperity. You inherited debt. And here's the punchline. They think it's your fault.
This here's the American dream, back when you could buy a house on one income, retire by 60, and still have time to judge your neighbors. It's not on you because it's old, but because they broke it, and now they pretend it never worked any other way.
Right. The dream where you win, change the rules, then pretend it was always fair.
I'm sorry, sir. Did you have something to share?
Oh, nothing. Just breathing in the equity.
And now for our latest addition to the exhibit, the boomer, in its natural habitat. No resume, no experience, just historical entitlement and ambient opportunity.
If I had your resources, I could get a job today.
And here we see the rare American pension plan, extinct since 2005.
I just walked into the factory and they gave me a job.
Damn.
No, asshole. I walked into a factory recently, and no one was there. Just a raccoon and a homeless guy who said they moved to Malaysia in '97.
Just work hard. Avoid debt. Don't forget to go to college. Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs? Don't do drugs? Didn't you guys start the hippie movement?
Just pull yourself up by just poop.
Uh-huh. Meanwhile, I work 2 jobs and live in a shoebox under the crushing weight of student debt you people guilt-trip me into taking out.
If you can't buy a house, maybe you weren't meant to.
Whoa, hey, easy there. I'm just here for the trauma tour.
Thank you for visiting the American Dream exhibit. Please exit through the gift shop.
You're lucky I can't take your social security, you vinyl-faced piece of shit. I have my eye on you.
Psst. Hey kid, listen man, you gotta get the fuck out of here. They got commie spies everywhere. Shh.
Act 1. The myth they sold us. A couple hundred years ago, land was cheap, beer cured dysentery, and you could catch a career in a fishing net. But more interestingly, around the time people still wore powdered wigs without irony, the British Royal Navy had a little trick for staying afloat. If you joined up young and strong, the crown would pay you in rum, land, and promises, just enough to make you think you were building a future. Of course, by the time your teeth fell out from scurvy and your spine resembled a question mark, that land grant was a damp swamp in Nova Scotia, and the pension was a pat on the head and a cannon salute. So, where's the rum? You were the rum. They sold you the dream, then they sank it. Now enter the American dream, that magical Hallmark sponsored fantasy land where you graduate on a Thursday, land a steel mill job Friday, buy a house Saturday, and have 2 or 3 kids with a mortgage smaller than your car payment by Monday morning. And all you had to do was be born before 1964. You know, back when you could afford a family on a single income and still have change left over for cigarettes, cocaine, and a pool. Boomers didn't just have it good, they had it absurd.
I ain't gonna lie, like, as much as this guy's joking, y'all really gotta look at the economy and be like, bro, this is wild, bro. Like, this is wild, bro. Like, we don't, bro. In order to get that stuff now, bro.
Oh!
GG's.
Taking the great work the generations before them had laid out, raised a middle finger, and blamed the government for ruining everything when in the 1950s, the wealthiest bracket of people were paying the highest tax rates at the time. Just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, sir.
Wix. And AI will transform your
sir. I'm barefoot. They went full circle. Socialist in their youth, capitalist in middle age, and full-on authoritarian in old age. The same generation that once preached peace, love, and don't trust the government, man, dropped the idealism faster than their asset tabs and traded it for real estate portfolios, polyester pants, and Ronald Reagan's bedtime stories. The same people who were raised by government programs, the GI Bill, public housing, and union jobs, grew up to believe that sharing is communism and poverty is a personal choice. As George Carlin described them,
"Give me it, it's mine! Give me that, it's mine!"
this was the guiding principle of every HOA with a lawn sign and a lawsuit. By the time they hit their 30s, boomers had more jobs than a modern LinkedIn influencer with a podcast, a startup, a side hustle, and an NFT grift, all while claiming they just stuck with one company and worked hard. They normalized job hopping so thoroughly that corporations just gave up trying to train anymore. Out went pensions and career development. In came "you're lucky to be exploited," experience required for entry level, and unpaid internships with coffee fetching certifications. And when it all started collapsing, they didn't take responsibility. They just called it a work ethic problem, because nothing screams personal accountability like torching the economy and blaming your grandkids. They got the deal of the century. Dirt cheap homes, stable, single income jobs, pensions you could actually retire on, college tuition cheaper than a modern microwave, and after reaping all of it, they'd turn around, looked us in the eye, and said, "You're just lazy." All while charging $1,800 a month to rent a drywall shed somewhere in a dilapidated part of a Rust Belt city. That's like Gordon Ramsay handing you a dirty fork, no ingredients, and a stove from 1937, then screaming that your imaginary souffle is fucking raw! In 1980, the average home in the United States cost about $76,000. In 2025, try $500,000. That's a six-fold increase. Meanwhile, median income only grew by a little over 4 times. So unless you're moonlighting as a YouTube crypto guru and a hedge fund at the same time, you're not buying a house, let alone barely buying groceries. Back in my day, I bought my first house at 25 with a job at the hardware store. I swear, you millennials and your entitlement. Gen Z. I mean, whatever, it's the same thing. Just stop buying avocado toast and you'll be fine. Oh, but thank God. I thought I was poor because of inflation or stagnant wages and a rental market run by sociopaths. But no, turns out it was the toast. Yes, now go flip that toast into a duplex. Oh yes, Bruce Cannon Gibney, that delightful bundle of sunshine, once wrote a book with the cheery little title, A Generation of Sociopaths. And he wasn't talking about serial killers or Wall Street bankers. No, he meant the boomers. According to Gibney, this lot, who inherited a prosperous post-war utopia, promptly began lighting it on fire to keep their golf carts warm. They slashed investments in boring things like bridges, roads, and water systems. You know, the infrastructure that stops society from collapsing into a sinkhole every time it rains. And guess what? It worked brilliantly. As of now, the American Society of Civil Engineers says 46,000 bridges in the US are structurally deficient, and some of them are in such a bad state of decay, they are classified as functionally obsolete, which is a polite way of saying this bridge probably should have retired back when the Beatles were still together.
We're gonna see a doctor about that.
But instead of, I don't know, fixing any of it, Congress, largely staffed by the same boomers who built this mess, decided to do what they do best, kick the can down the collapsing road. All while entire cities like Flint, Michigan were drinking lead-poisoned Kool-Aid, and the noble boomers in DC were too busy arguing over tax cuts for yacht owners. So yes, congratulations, you're living in the rusted ruins of a country that once dreamed big, and now can't even pour a glass of water without checking if it glows in the dark. They took the maintenance budget, slashed it to balance the books, and used the savings to buy lawn flamingos and a third Jeep. This short-sightedness obviously contributed to the house affordability crisis we're experiencing today. So, I just gotta say, this cozy 400 square foot studio is a steal at $2,500 a month, so...
New Vector Granola has done it! With 24 grams...
Does it come with a bathroom? I mean, yes, it's shared. Down the hall. Honestly, the American dream hasn't just shifted. It's been taxidermied and mounted on the wall of a boomer's third vacation home. Once a symbol of prosperity and stability, now is just a rotting myth, wielded like a cudgel against younger generations, usually by someone who bought a 4-bedroom house for the price of a toaster oven, then accidentally became a landlord. It's gaslighting with a pension plan. This shit is so bad they can make a game out of it.
That's actually crazy. I never thought about it like that. These landlords bought the houses when they're super cheap, and then they just get to charge us whatever they want for it, and we're the ones who suffer for it, bruh. Especially the city that I live in, Bombo Clat, bro.
Of trying to win in real life? Don't worry, we gamified the struggle. Gen Z, the video game. Now with realism mode. Remember fun? Neither do we. Now step into the simulator where rent's due, healthcare's optional, and hope is a microtransaction. Rated F for financially doomed. Act 2, the damage they did. You ever wondered what it'd look like if an entire generation played The Sims, but with real national infrastructure? Because that's basically what the boomers did, except instead of trapping a sim in the pool and deleting the ladder, they trapped us in the economy and deleted the housing market. But since we're already aware of most of this, let's talk about the cliches. Not just the movie villain monologuing before he dies, or the reboot that thinks swapping demographics count as a plot twist. No, I'm talking about the real-world cliche. The boomer who inherited society, dismantled it for parts, and now spends their twilight years yelling at minimum wage workers about the price of eggs. Because the thing about cliches is, they exist for a reason. Bruce Cannon Gibney, again, didn't write A Generation of Sociopaths because he was bored. He wrote it because he read the DSM-5 and thought, hey, that sounds a lot like my uncle. So let's go over a few things again. The boomers exhibit the following traits. Disregard for others, irresponsibility, no long-term planning, feels nothing after gutting pensions, invests in crypto but blames the kids when it crashes. Instead of just calling them bad policies, how about generational temper tantrums dressed up in free market drag? But remember when I talked about their disregard for previous generations' work? Enter Ronald Reagan, our patron saint of pretending. The man who looked into a camera and told the nation, government is the problem, and then proceeded to prove it. He slashed the top tax rate from 70% to 50%, handed Wall Street the keys to the vault, and greenlit corporate stock buybacks previously considered market manipulation, as if CEOs were just misunderstood underdogs in a feel-good sports movie. Yeah, turns out the trickle wasn't water and it wasn't going down. Thanks, Ronnie. Meanwhile, Reagan's FCC chairman declared that TV was just a toaster with pictures, which was great news, because now we had a toaster that could broadcast 24 hours of rage bait and pharmaceutical ads. And with the fairness doctrine repealed, facts became optional. The media became less public service, more fast food for the brain damaged. But back to Gibney. He names names, so let's do the same. Reagan deregulated everything except his own legend. Bill Clinton, saxophone in one hand, Wall Street deregulation in the other. George W. Bush, a man so committed to disaster capitalism, he thought invading 2 countries would count as a stimulus package. If I had anything to say about their governing, it's like they hosted a looting party and left the tab in our name. Welcome to Boomerland, a theme park for the policy choices of the most overindulged generation in history. The crumbling infrastructure log flume. Freedom Gulch. No healthcare, no roads, just guns. The student loan tilt-a-whirl. The climate denial ice rink. Boomerland, where dreams are leased down, the future's cancelled. Oops. Act 3, the world we inherited. You know, for the longest time, I thought I was screwing it all up. Like, maybe I missed the secret seminar where they handed out houses, confidence, and a functioning will to live, right between taxes and how to cook rice without hating yourself. They told us if we just played the game, go to school, get a job, hustle like your entire existence depends on it, then one day we'd win something other than burnout and a rent hike. But here we are, decades into the grind, still chasing success like it's tied to a helium balloon shaped like Elon Musk's and just as out of reach. What we got was a cosplay economy, dressed up in social milestones established by the generation who lived at the zenith of modern civilization, empowered by fiat currency anxiety meds for the world they created. Boomer inheritance be like a folded American flag, a broken VHS of Top Gun, and the keys to
$1.78 trillion
in student loans. Oh, and maybe a live, laugh, love sign if you're lucky. The boomers inherited a rich, dynamic country and mortgaged it like a cokehead with a stolen credit card. The national debt? $36 trillion. That number is so big, you'd think it was invented by a toddler trying to lie about his high score in his favorite video game. Trust in government? Yeah, that's hovering somewhere between timeshare salesman and gas station sushi. But hey, don't worry, the system works. Just like a microwave that doesn't heat your food, but always gives you a nice hot plate. Loud, expensive, and only useful for storing regrets. Boomerland may be closed, but the damage? Yeah, that's on us to clean up. With student loans, burnout, and a 2-year lease on hope. So if you're still wondering what happens to the American dream, you're looking at it. Glitchy, over-leveraged, and updated monthly with a paywall. But if you haven't already, please subscribe. And as always, Scrutly Muttley.
Damn. That was actually very interesting. Bro brought up a lot of interesting points that I had, like, never really considered for real in terms of, like, you know, the differences between our generation and boomers and, like, why we don't really get along too well or why we don't tend to see eye to eye. That was pretty interesting. Alright, y'all, let me know what y'all thought in the comments in terms of the video, in terms of what are your opinions on the two generations and why there's such a disparity or there's such a difference between us. But yeah, like I said, let me know in the comments what you think, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Alright, yeah. I'm getting gritty on these niggas. I'm getting gritty on these bitches. Here we go, another talking again. Yeah. I'm getting gritty on these niggas. I'm getting gritty on these bitches. Here we go, another talking again. Yeah. I'm getting gritty on these niggas. I'm getting gritty on these bitches.